Tammy and friends. I am so excited today to introduce you to a new friend that I have met who's very interesting, and I think that you will think the same thing about her. She is coming to us today from Nashville, Tennessee. You know, everybody likes to go on vacation in Nashville, Tennessee. Imagine living there. Her name is Julie Mangus, and she's a licensed professional counselor. She's also a speaker and just an all around wonderful person. I have had several just moments where I've had little snippets of conversation via email and then a pretty long talk over the phone. So I think that you're going to love her as much as I do. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Tammy. It is such a pleasure to be here with you and your wonderful community today. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And we can't wait to hear what you say because I love on your Facebook page where it reads, Coaching Christian Wives Who Want to Save Their Marriage Without Spending Years in Talk Therapy. I love that. And
Yes.
I've never quite heard it put like that. Explain to me.
Yes, ma'am. I have been a therapist for years, and so what I've really done is over my amazing time working with people and helping them achieve their results. I've put together like kind of the best ofs of all the things that I've found really work. And as a coach, I'm also able to really hang a shingle as a Christian. And you're not really it's not as easy to do that in the therapy space. So, what I love about what I get to do in the coaching world is really incorporate all of these amazing tricks of the trade with scripture. And so that's what I am really passionate about doing.
I love that. And
Mhm.
God designed marriage. God, I'm always tipping my coffee cup to someone, Julie. And so I get all of these amazing coffee cups sent my way. Whenever I went in there to pick out a coffee cup for today, I picked out fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes, Psalm
We-
139.
Yes. And so oftentimes when it comes to being fearfully and wonderfully made, we think to ourselves, how am I so fearfully and wonderfully made if my marriage is upside down because of anxiety and everything else and life just seems so difficult right now.
Mhm,
Give me
mhm.
your viewpoints on that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really a nuanced question or nuanced answer rather because life is tricky. It's very difficult. And what I'm so passionate about is really helping people uncover the truths of their story by connecting what they know of themselves with the authority of God. And what really happens is we get mixed messages in our life dependent on our experiences, our hardships, and we'll talk about anxiety in a minute, but our system is really designed to help protect us. And sometimes it's misguided in how it does that. And so as Christians, we really need to be clear on, is this what's going on? Is it perceived? Is it true? Or is it connected to painful points or maybe the enemy's trying to get into this space in my life, and that can become the lie that we're listening to. And so it really does affect how we think, how we feel, and it's all about story and experience. And when we really incorporate the truth of how God designed us and uncover this for ourselves, it really opens up so much opportunity and promise and living consciously, like awake, as
Yeah.
opposed to, as I often unfortunately see people, is they're really just kind of sleepwalking, without the awareness of what's really going on underneath the surface.
So what I love about what you just said is that it's not about the now and the then, what happened in the past. It can also be what the enemy is telling you and the lies that we believe so often and we carry around with us for sometimes our entire life.
Yes,
I know that you feel.
absolutely.
Let's talk about anxiety a little bit, especially when it
Mhm.
comes into relationships and what we can do about it. I'm just going to tell me a little bit about anxiety, Julie.
Yeah, and so just to be simple, it's funny, I was looking this up today because there's a lot of different definitions, right, for anxiety, but it really is a mental condition and also a feeling that's based on a perceived threat or perceived uncertainty. And so the mind and the body are like, wait a second, we've got to protect you. We've got to protect you so you won't get hurt. And that's what I love about God. Even in how He designed us, it's always to help us. But it's our job to kind of be curious about that and like take those thoughts captive, right, to the Lord. So the anxiety truly is a perceived threat or uncertainty, and a worry, like persistent worry that's going on in the mind about something possibly going wrong. So,
I have a dear friend who has traveled with me. I used to teach school. I was a school teacher for a long time, and we were always happy go lucky. Nothing bothered us, nothing worried us. And then she had um, a medical condition, and
hmm
when this happened, and it was a rough one.
hmm
Surgery and everything was involved, and after that, she dealt with some anxiety.
hmm
And by what you're saying, because I've thought often, how in the world is she dealing with this? Because she's one of those who can go with the flow, roll on type of thing. And all of a sudden anxiety would come in and she would feel it coming. I
hmm
like what you just said because that explains a lot of it.
And over it's 42.5 million Americans right now are struggling with anxiety. But if you ask people, 8 in 10 will actually say that they have emotional stress that they would name as anxiety.
Mhm.
And it unfortunately affects more women than men as well.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think, women are more emotional. We are just more emotionally driven creatures. And a lot of women are the mother role in the family system, and so they're taking care of lots of different things all the time. And a lot of the time, women tend to worry, right? We tend to worry about kids, worry about husband. Part of that, again, is how God designed us, but it's that tweaking of, okay, wait a second. Do I need to worry about this, or can I lay this at the feet of Christ and
Yeah.
trust in Him? So it's really that examining. Okay, what's really going on? Do I need to worry about this? How is it serving me? Like, just starting to be curious about what we're thinking. But I did think that that was important just to name that women do habitually have more trouble with this than men.
And the awareness of it, whenever you say we have to lay it at the feet of the cross. We have to, when we're aware of it, when we're aware of what we're being attacked with, how renewing our mind is real, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And it has to begin for me, it has to begin in the morning when it begins. I often will say we have to tell the negative committee that meets in the boardroom of our mind to sit down and be quiet because
That's
it's
right.
going to happen. It is. Tell me a little bit about social anxiety since 2020.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Statistically, the numbers were really high during COVID, obviously, with anxiety. We all of us, I think, I would say almost I could say all of us struggled with some kind of anxiety during that because this was such a new norm. It was like this had not happened to us really since the war, since the last war of just like this overall threat to the race, right? And so everyone was dealing with their own true uncertainty about just going to the grocery store. And then we had that combined with the political issues that just really started sparking up, and then the social. And so we just had really this unfortunate, like, overwhelming extra anxiety, just, and we already had the normal stuff, right? But then we have the life threat, literally. Then we have the, wait a second, my friends and family don't believe the same things anymore. What does this mean about me? And then these other social justice issues that were also very scary. So people got nervous about going outside, about talking about things that were important to them or that they believed in, because they were scared that they would be abandoned, rejected, shamed, cast aside, ghosted, lost their job. So many different, and it wasn't in that situation, it wasn't perceived, it was happening.
That is,
So
that's right.
the, so it was even more scary, and then people just decided to go in and go indoors, literally in their homes, but then also internally. And we know that loneliness has been matching the epidemic of heart disease for years now. And God created us for relationships. He didn't create us to be alone. And so the very thing that's the anecdote was something that people were genuinely, genuinely terrified to do.
You are so right. And I saw so many personalities. I saw
Mhm,
so many people change. And to this day, they are still changed.
mhm.
Is it a forever changed kind of thing, do you think, Julie?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would like to say no, because I try to stay positive and
That's
optimistic
good.
about the
Yeah.
change that I know God can do. And I also do, I sit with people day in and day out, and people's perceived fear is very pronounced. And there is a heightened sensitivity in general. And I love Pastor Craig Groeschel. He says, if you're looking to be offended, you will find it. And
Absolutely.
this is really what I see going on the most with anxiety, is people are looking for the problems, and if we're living that way, we're going to find them. So
That's good.
we really want to rest and retune, like you were saying, every single day, and practice, taking the thoughts captive to the Lord, realigning ourselves and our mind. Another one of my favorites is Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and she's a Christian neuro researcher and scientist. And she says, this is a profound statistic, but 75 to 90% of all genetic, physiological, and behavioral disorders and mental disorders are due to our thoughts.
Yes.
And only 2 to 24% are genetic and environmental. This is according to her research in this book she wrote called
Amen.
Switching on the Brain. Yeah, I'll say it again. It's a really important statistic, but 75 to 98% of all mental, behavioral, and physiological disorders are due to our thought life, like Paul talks about. And 2 to 24% are actually due to genetic and environmental issues.
Wow.
So we've had it wrong.
Right.
We've
Right.
had it wrong. And she's a Christian, and she's written a book, a Christian doctor, and she's written a book called Switching on the Brain. But it's so important, because she talks in her book about how important it is
Yes.
to rest our mind on what is true, and just literally to rest, like Jesus did. He went and he prayed and he rested and he meditated and he was still and he was quiet. And God calls us to do these things. And it's to help our mind, to help recenter our mind, and to turn down the dial
Yes.
on anxiety.
We just got back from Colorado, and this was a vacation where the whole point was to be still,
Mm,
to know that he was God, to stop doing the do this, do this, do this, do this. It wasn't a vacation where it was a checklist kind of vacation. It was it was high up on a mountain where we actually were all so still. And I will
mm.
tell you that rest happens when we stop running wide open. And I'm a person, girl, I run wide open. But, ah, but I know, because my body will tell me, Tammy, you got to stop. You got to breathe. You got to breathe me in, because
Yes.
often what we do is we get so busy, and busyness is not a spiritual gift.
No, no. I remember, I think a Sunday school teacher years ago saying the acronym for busy is being under Satan's yoke.
Yes.
And I always remember that because it's always stuck with me.
Eh,
And I love how you said that, just the being still and quieting, and you said, and listening. And that's what God, I believe, really wants to always invite us to do, right? Is to listen,
yes.
to lean into Him. And I love how you were reminded of that. It's so important and reminded all of us.
I actually, we were hiking and several of them went ahead. And I said, I'm just going to stay here for a minute. And they said, no, we'll stay with you. I said, no, no, go, go. I said, I'm going to sit right here. And
Mhm.
whenever they all went their own way, I sat there and I said, okay, God, I'm listening. You have my attention.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, it was a sweet time because so many times so much is going through our heads that we don't just stop. And it's
Mhm.
so important. Tell me, Julie, do you think that all this anxiety kind of is related with the depression that we're seeing now?
Oh, yes. So, anxiety and depression are quite often very much linked. What I have noticed in my clients over the years is they generally have more propensity to one. So depression might be the thing that we're working on the most, but they also struggle with anxiety. So it's a both and. It's kind of like the most uncomfortable couple, like a married couple, like a not a like toxic at a dinner party. Anxiety and depression are just usually like hand in hand, unfortunately, with each other. What we call this is like comorbidity, but it's just like having both of them. And they're the symptoms that we have when we have depression and anxiety. Some of them are actually the same: irritability, hopelessness, and just the overwhelming, like, I can't do anything because of
Yes.
this thing. And so that they are very close, close cousins or stepsisters, whatever you want to call
Yes.
it. And unfortunately, in my experience, depression is actually the much harder of the two to deal with. Yeah.
So whenever you say to deal with, give us
Mm,
a few ways that how do we get through this, Julie? How do we get on
mhm,
with our lives? Well, how do we get it to where, God tells us run the race with endurance, lay aside
mhm,
everything that hinders you. How do we
mhm,
do that, Julie,
mhm.
and get on with our lives?
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to keep it simple. If one of your listeners would look this up for themselves, unfortunately, the first thing that they're going to see is medicine.
Right.
And not that medicine is bad. We're so grateful that we have it for when we really need it, but we really want to be seeking help, with someone like a coach, like a therapist, like a counselor, a church mentor, someone who's trained to help us. But then there's also things that we can do that really aren't that complicated. We've got apps now, like on your phone, really great mindfulness meditations. There's spiritual ones that are connected to scripture. Abide, ABIDE, is a great faith based app that incorporates scripture with meditation just to help morning, just calming your mind, centering your mind and your heart and your focus to the Lord. Mindful meditation, research shows, is incredibly helpful for reducing depression and anxiety. And you don't need a therapist or a coach or a counselor to help you with that. You can start that habit right now. And another one that is free as well, and this is something God gave us the ability to do, is to deeply or diaphragmically, like belly breathing, tummy breathing. Because when we do an intake through our nose and then we release it through our mouth, we're actually activating the part of the nervous system that God designed to help us relax involuntarily. So, this is a tool that God actually just gave us because He loves us and He knew that we would struggle with things. to help us calm down. And it's not something we're doing in our mind, because that's going to just increase the the hamster wheel. It's actually just inviting breath and engaging with the breath, and that will help us calm down. And you can look up so many different breathing exercises online for this, but my favorite is called box breathing.
Show us.
And yeah, you take, so it's super easy, like a box, four squared. So you breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, you hold it for 4 counts, you release through your mouth for 4 counts, and you hold it for 4 counts. And guess how many times you do it, Tammy?
I never was real good in math. I'm going to guess 4 though.
You got it. You got it. 4 times. Like, it simply couldn't be easier. And you can do it in the car. You can do it at the dinner table. You can do it in a meeting. You can even do it when you're face to face with somebody that's driving you crazy. You could, and just do it right then and there. It doesn't take, it's not too complicated. And those are the coping skills that we really want to know how to use, because when we need them most is usually when it's most hard to remember to use them. So we want to have a simple skill that
Yes.
we've been practicing. So when we need it, it's right there, right there.
I have always, if something, we've heard forever, just breathe. Take a,
Mhm.
just breathe. But there's so much truth to that. Just stop for a moment. I call it the power of the pause.
Yes,
Because when we pause, we don't say things that we later regret.
that's
We
right.
don't, we don't often go into that fight mode, which
Mhm.
so often that will happen if we're on edge anyway. We'll go into fight mode. But if we will stop and breathe,
Mhm.
if we will just, I love that, because it is something that God has given us that we're naturally designed. But the key is be aware of it. Be aware.
Yes. Yes, and I call know your body tells. Like, when you're playing poker, somebody has a tell, right? Their eye twitches or whatever. Know when your body is telling you it's
Good.
not okay.
That's good.
Your heart rate might increase. You might lose your words. That's what happens to me. You might start cleaning a lot. That's also something I do. And when I'm doing that, or my body will actually kind of reverberate when I have had my fill. When I'm done and my tank is, that's my body telling me, okay, Julie, you need to stop and you need to be quiet and you need to just go and sit, read your Bible, go for a walk, calm down, get some water. A temperature change, that's one other thing I wanted to tell your listeners. Just recognizing, okay, my body's telling me I'm not okay. I'm going to go get some cold water, or I'm going to go brew a cup of tea. A sensory or temperature change will actually calm the nervous system down, because all of this stuff with anxiety is connected really to the body. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but it's really the body is telling you things are not okay. And so we
Right.
want to go into the body to calm it down.
Thank you so much. And I know that I could listen to you forever. I have. I didn't want to get off the phone call when we talked for quite some time the other day. But if people want to get a hold of you, Julie,
Yes,
how do they find you?
absolutely. Thanks for asking. JulieMangusCoaching.com is my website right now. It's going to be changing soon, but that will get you to me.
Okay. And then if they want to find you on Facebook, how do they find you on Facebook?
But Julie Mangus Coaching is my business page, so you can find me right there. Absolutely.
And I'll be the first to tell all of you that she is quick to get back with you. She is just the kind of person that when you're talking to her, you don't want it to stop, kind of like I don't want it to stop today, but we have to. Uh, Thank you so much, Julie, for being with us,
It is
because
my pleasure.
the words you say are not only biblically based, I can tell that you love the Lord,
Yeah.
but there is a soothing manner in the way that you speak that says,
Mhm.
ah, that just comes from the heart of the Lord. So I just want to leave today with, and what is one of your favorite verses?
Mm.
You will
Well, the
just,
one that, I mean, honestly, Psalm 139, but for me, just right then, be still and know that I'm God came up just, I think, because of what we were talking today. But Psalm 139, you know, search me and know me. Know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You're
Mm,
familiar with all my ways. And then my favorite part, before a word is on your tongue, you know it completely. My tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. So it just reminds me of just how deeply loved and known we are by the Lord, and that we have been from the little seed in our mommy's womb to however old we are. God knows us inside and out, and He sees us no matter who we think doesn't. He does. He always gets it.
that's right. Thank you so much for being with me today. And I look
Yes.
forward to one day sitting with you in person where
Yes.
we reach out and we can touch each other and we give each other a big hug. And I just appreciate everything you've said today. And I know that a lot
Thank you.
will be helped by this. So thank you so much, Julie,
It's
from
my
Texas
pleasure.
and Nashville.
Yes. Yeehaw.
That's right. Sipping my coffee cup at you now. Thank you, Julie. You have a great day.
Thank you.